But then I found out there was a lot of dream sequences. There were a lot of dream sequences. There are visions. There are Tony figuring things out through his dreams, hallucinations, and even what got me started being interested was a video about Paulie Walnuts going to a psychic and possibly the psychic actually envisioning something that was true. And so I gave it another shot and I got obsessed with the show, and we watched the whole thing around this time last year, and then we started jonesing to watch it again, and we got HBO cut on. And we've gotten to the end of the first season, and the last two episodes, particularly the second to last, the penultimate episode, Isabella, I'm just obsessing over it because, and the rest of this is just going to be spoilers if you haven't watched The Sopranos. So let's have a musical interlude and then spoilers. Every day is like Sunday. Every day is silent and gray in the coastal town that they forgot to close down. Armageddon, come, Armageddon, come, Armageddon, come. So in this episode, Tony's mother and uncle try to have him killed, but he almost doesn't notice because he's so depressed because his friend, Mr. Bompensero, has disappeared, gone on the lam after being accused of being a rat. And while he's depressed, Tony is taking more lithium than usual. Because, the whole frame of this show was that a gangster was going to a psychiatrist. Tony hallucinates up this beautiful woman who's staying next door at the Cusimano's house. Cusimano is the doctor who referred him to the psychiatrist in the first place. There's not a lot of mutual respect between these neighbors, despite the fact that they're both Italian Americans. They're of different socioeconomic groups, and obviously one is ripping people off and the other one is a gangster. So he imagines this woman completely, who is an exchange student from Italy in the United States studying dentistry. And then at the end of the episode, the psychiatrist, Dr. Melfi, thinks that Tony imagined this woman because he didn't have a loving mother, and he imagined her. He even had a hallucination within his hallucination where he and she were back in Italy and she was nursing a child. And Dr. Melfi thought that this was all Tony's reaction to his mother being, trying to kill him and being a cruel person. But I think we have to look at why Tony imagined her to be a dentist. And since Tony imagined it, he has very little ideas about symbolism. He thinks that psychiatry is still back in the Freud days. And while I was going through articles trying to find out why he imagined this woman was a dentist and why specifically she brings up that she's interested in tumors of the gum, which I never could find any sort of documentation on what do gums symbolize. But I did find a couple of articles that I want to read a little bit from. This is Tooth Decay, Edgar Allan Poe and the Neurodecadentisme, I think, in French, of Villiers and Huysmans by Andrea Goulet, 19th Century French Studies, Volume 45, Spring, Summer, 2017, pages 198 through 218. First of all, Goulet says that they're talking about a novel called A Rebours, which is a French novel which translates to Against Nature from 1884, about a decadent aristocrat, and is supposed to be the reason that, what is his name? Oh, I lost my train of thought. The witty guy from England wrote Dorian Gray. Okay, so this is why I didn't get very far in academia, because this is an article about what Baudelaire thought about Edgar Allan Poe. And now I'm telling you about it. And this person, I don't know if Andrea or Andrea is a man or a woman. It could be either. Could be an Italian person. They're quoting other academics. But anyway, it says, a rapport has readily lent itself to Freudian interpretations. For Freud, tooth loss as a dream symbol represents castration in punishment for onanism. I believe that means masturbation. But tooth loss, castration. Tony is afraid of castration. If you'll remember earlier in season 1, he had a dream that a duck flew away with his penis. And also, as a part of his lithium hallucinations, he imagines that his wife Carmela comes into the room, catches him looking out the window at this dental student he's imagined, Isabella. So now again he's hallucinating within a hallucination. And Carmela says that she should cut his dick off for looking out the window at another woman. But the author Goulet goes on to say that Robert Ziegler provides a highly nuanced reading of the dentist Garanax as a symbolic healer whose extraction of, I cannot pronounce the name of the main character of Against Nature, infected molar, allows him a comforting though temporary return to blissful infantilism. And that is a good interpretation for why Isabella is a dentist, going along with Dr. Melfi's interpretation of Isabella, that she represents a motherly figure who returns Tony to infantilism. And it goes on to say, the account of his visit to the dentist conveys a wish to re-experience the juncture of smooth gums and soft breast, the indivisibility of mouth and oral object. I found tons of things about teeth and a little bit about dentists. The overarching meaning of this article that I'm reading from is that French at the turn of the century, and that is for any young people that are listening to, I'm referring to the turn of the 19th into the 20th. That's what I mean when I say turn of the century. Not that anyone young, my audience, according to YouTube, is 35 to 60, which is what I want. Hello, Gen X. This whole article that I'm reading from is about how Poe used American dentistry, and the French at the time read American dentistry to be a symbolism of the rot of capitalism and how it's covered up because everything looks great. A lot of rich people in the turn of the century America apparently had great looking teeth because they were dentures. And what could be more symbolic of Tony Soprano's ancestor, I can't remember if it was a grandfather or great-grandfather, coming from Italy to build a life for the family, and what you get at the end is Tony, a murderer and a thief and an adulterer, and yet we sympathize with him because he's the main character of the show. There's something else I found that was interesting. Carmela, at the beginning of the episode, comes in and says that she's going to the mall. Tony won't get out of the bed. She's talking to him, and he's lolling around in the bed. She's going to the mall to buy their son, Anthony Jr., a suit for his first formal, and she says that she's going to the mall in mules, which may cripple her for life. And a mule is an uncomfortable woman's shoe. There is a Saint Dominico of Foligno, Umbria, that's in southern Italy, He is a minor saint in the Catholic Church. I don't know a lot about Catholicism because I'm a Methodist, but we were taught to find value in all religions, and I'm interested in saints. This Saint Dominico was counting among his miraculous powers that of curing toothache. He left one of his own teeth to be employed against serpents, hydrophobia, which I assume means rabies, and toothache, and he's also said to have dropped a mule shoe, now a relic, upon the breast of his image in the village church. Replicas of this shoe are sold as charms, but these must first touch the reliquary to become effective. Not only do pilgrims use these charms for toothache, but they also take turns ringing the sanctuary bell with their teeth. And that is from an article called Of the Teeth by Bird Howell Granger from the Journal of American Folklore, Volume 74, number 291, January to March 1961, pages 47 to 56. Carmela comes in, talks about a mule shoe, and there is a saint of dentistry who dropped a mule shoe. That is a complete coincidence. It would be great if David Chase was reading about this minor saint that I dug up on JSTOR on a Sunday, but I doubt it. Incidentally, I don't think Dr. Melfi went into enough about the hallucination of Carmela. Carmela coming in the room, saying again that she's going to the mall. This time she's wearing, and this is all me. There's no way this is not a coincidence. She's wearing this horrible suit that makes her look like a piece of extra sugar-free chewing gum. It is that color of blue. And God bless Carmela. Edie Falco is a major, major crush of mine. I think she's so good looking and sexy, but they just dressed her like ass on this show tacky in this suit. He hallucinated this suit. She's looking like a piece of gum, and he's imagining this woman who is interested in tumors of the gum. I don't know what gum represents. The gum is what the teeth grow out of. There's a tumor in the organization. It's Mr. Bompancero. It's also Tony's mother, Livia, from whom he grew.